Greetings and welcome to another edition of Up the River, Down the Bayou. I'm Eric Richey and so glad you joined us for our second episode as we get ready for the regular season. Plenty to get to here on this show. Soon we're going to be headed across the river and check in with Hahnville head coach Greg Boyne. Later we go down the Bayou and check in with ED White head coach Kyle Lasseigne. And then of course, our blast from the past this week, just like we did in show one, we showed you some old jamborees. Well, as we get ready for the season openers, we're going to go back through the archives and look back over the last several years of some of the best season opening highlights that we have. But as we said, first and foremost, let's go up the river and really across the bridge as we bring in Hahnville first-year head coach Greg Boyne. Coach, welcome to the program. Congratulations on the new gig. And man, the first thing I told you when you got the job, I've known you at Destrehan for so long, I had no idea that you were a Hahnville 1990 graduate. So welcome back to the alma mater.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
You got it. Hey, what's it been like? What's the transition been like? I mean, it has to have been surreal. I think you took over like right after Mardi Gras. So, you had some spring football. You had a chance to, get to know these players. You've had a real successful scrimmage, a real successul jamboree. What's it been like? Has it been like a dream? Has it been like sometimes you're like surreal?
It has. I mean, when we came in, we hit the ground running. They had just started their off-season workouts in the weight room. So we kind of jumped right into that, started doing our 2 days a week after school workouts with the kids on the field. And then, like you said, right into spring, summer, it's been basically a whirlwind. It's been fun. A very energetic group of kids, hardworking group of kids and coaches. So it's been nonstop.
That's great. And what about the staff? Again, having great assistant coaches, as you know, is so important. Like when you were the offensive coordinator for over a decade at Destrehan, helping that team to state championships. What's it been like developing a staff for the first time as a head coach? And what's your staff like?
It's a very diverse staff, some mix of some very experienced guys and some youthful guys that help keep us older guys young. Again, very hardworking, here every day. One of the things that we talked to the kids about was being committed and being here every day. And the coaching staff has led by example as far as that goes. When you come to practice, we've had several people come by and comment on how active and engaged the coaches are. So it's been a positive to have success.
Excellent. Hey, let's talk about some of the players. And I know, especially as you with your background on the offensive side of the ball, let's start there where there's been quite a battle at quarterback. Two really talented choices you got, and both have seemed like they've played well so far in the preseason. Landon Teague and Bennett Knockhand, both have looked good, but you got to make a decision on how you're going to juggle these guys, who's going to start. Where are we at with the quarterback competition? And just talk about both players a little bit for us.
It starts with this. They're both great kids. We had our vote for captains yesterday, and we're going to do like a players committee, a players council, and they were two of the leading vote getters. One, Bennett is a junior and Landon's a sophomore. Not just on the field, but in the locker room, off the field. They're both baseball kids. They're both leaders. Neither one of them are overly extroverted. They both, lead by example, but they also both know when it's time to speak up, and the players listen. As far as the quarterback part itself, usually those things play themselves out. It's still ongoing. We evaluate every practice. Bennett started the scrimmage. Landon started the jamboree. Today will probably be the last day where we evaluate, and then obviously somebody has to start on Friday. But I really think they'll both play. For the time being, I think they both give us a chance to win. They do different things well, and they also have a similar skill set at the same time. So I've done it in the past. And if we play them both, I feel confident that we can win with both or we can win with either.
Booker T. Washington, the season opener, week one for Hahnville. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's continue our look at some of the skilled positions. And at running back, my goodness, And every time I think Hahnville, I think of great running backs, and you've got a host of them this year. C.J. Smith, he's a Southeastern grad, big 9-yard touchdown run in the Jamboree. Fabian Celestine, he's had big touchdowns in the scrimmage and in the Jamboree. You got Jamon Preston, and then a name that River Parish fans are very familiar with, Patrick Jackson, but this time it's Patrick Jackson Jr. Of course, Patrick Jackson, a several thousand-yard rusher during his days at West St. John.
Right, and I've been doing this long enough to realize, and look, those kids are very talented, and CJ is a special talent, and then the young guys kind of follow his lead, which is that's what you want as a coach, an older guy, veteran guy. He and Jamon are the seniors, and then the 10th graders kind of follow his lead, and all good backs, all bring something different to the table. CJ is a little bit more well-rounded than the young guys. They have some things to clean up. But when you're good at 4 or 5 deep running back, you're pretty good up front. And
yes.
It really, and I know you'll get to that, but it starts with the seniors up front. I came into a good situation with 5, 6 seniors on the offensive line, a pretty experienced group. Most have played or started in the last couple of years. So, when you're running the ball like we have in the scrimmage and the Jamboree, that's not just good backs, that's good offensive line play.
Yeah, and you're right. I was going to get to that real quick. We'll wrap up the skilled position players. What about who's going to be catching the passes and making the blocks, tight end and wide receiver? Help us out there.
But Kobe Lewis is our number one guy, most experienced guy. Kavai Singleton is a junior who's really stepped his game up. Karan Henderson is a junior who's got some experience. Caden Brand is a young guy. Aaron Williams is a young guy, and Lance Marshall was a young guy battling in the slot. So it's a by committee thing. Again, different skill sets for different guys. Some are a little faster, some have better hands, some are better route runners. So it'll be a strong rotation, which is good. And we have faith in all of those guys. They need experience. They need game reps. They do well in practice. They, a little nerves maybe in the Jamboree. We didn't complete as many balls as we have liked, and it was a little rainy. But hopefully this week we can get the rain out and throw the ball around a little bit more. Tight end is Michael Props. Again, a kid that played last year, very physical. We're pretty versatile with that role. We ask you to block, catch, and every once in a while we'll give you the ball. And Jamon Preston also plays the H-back tight end role.
Now, again, you've seen me at I don't know how many different practices when I've come to do preview, when I'll get interviews, but you always see me first. I'll shoot some video. I ask the head coach or whoever's in charge that day, is it okay if I shoot some video? And, I'm always going to get a couple shots of the quarterback, skilled position players, guys that have committed to maybe a Power 5. But my next stop, I always go in that offensive line and get right down in there with those big guys. Who's your offensive line coach this year? And tell me about a successful offensive line that you've already talked about, and give me some names this year that we can shine the spotlight on those guys.
Well, Coach David Beaudry is one of our 2 offensive line coaches. He's been coaching for about 62 years, I believe. He was in
that combined baseball and football?
He's coached it all. I think he's coached everything under the sun. He's even coaching basketball this year. But Coach Beaudry is an experienced guy, coached in the Catholic League in its heyday, has worked with multiple positions, but he's with the offensive line. And then Coach Rhett Pelche, who came with me from Destrehan, who's got an offensive line background. He's also been a coordinator. So he's somebody good that, to have on our side of the ball on the offensive side. And the thing about the group that, we have some guys that have played, Chris Wilkinson and Brody Dono, some guys that started in the past. Colin McLean, all back. And the thing about them, they're really, gelled as a group. Sometimes it takes longer than others, but they're the heart and soul of the offense. And on certain days, they're the heart and soul of the team. The team in practice kind of goes how they go. We had a rough Monday, and it was because the offensive line didn't have a good day. But the type of group they didn't have to say a whole lot. Yesterday was a really good day, as a whole. So we kind of ebb and flow with the offensive line. And, I think in high school football, if you have a good offensive line, you have a shot. And we have the backs and the other complementary pieces. So, I think to have some success, we're set up as far as the offensive line goes.
Excellent. Let's switch to the opposite side of the ball. Let's talk about defense. And the thing I've noticed in the scrimmage against St. James and, of course, up in Fontainebleau in the Jamboree, I'm seeing all kind of turnovers, right? I think I got Gale and Weber for picks in the Jamboree. You at least caused one fumble that I saw on ABC 26's highlights. And again, I know you got an interception in the scrimmage with St. James. Give us some names to look for on that side of the ball, and start with your defensive coordinator and some of the defensive coaches that you want to mention.
Okay, well, of course, the first person that I asked the administration to help us get in last year when I got the job was Coach Scobell. He and I go back, several years. His success at Shaw and other places, as a head coach and a coordinator, are pretty well known in the New Orleans area. And he was ready to come. He was anxious. He jumped in with me, and we kind of looked at what was available as far as personnel, and we were able to get a few guys out that hadn't played in the last couple of years back out. And I'm gonna be honest with you, watching our defense is fun. We're not the biggest group. We do have some size, but they fly around. The two teams we've played, St. James and Fontainebleau, and then even Jesuit in the spring. The head coaches have commented on how physical and how our defense flies around. And it's two things that we've stressed since day one. And again, if anybody who's familiar with Coach Scobell's defenses, that's a trademark. That's something that he takes pride in. The players here are hungry. He keeps a turnover board, and back when he and I were together at Destrehan, it was filled with 20+ turnovers both years. So, and just from what we've shown so far, I see no reason to see why that won't be the same.
Outstanding. How about some of the players you'd like to highlight on the defensive side of the ball?
He plays a lot of guys. I mean, Frederick Downing Jr. up front, Raymond Williams, Daniel Banks, linebackers, 5-6 guys that rotate in. Same thing in the secondary. And it's kind of a by committee approach. Of course, kind of like I said about the quarterbacks, you're going to have some older guys and mixed in with some younger guys and ask them. Juju Simmons is an experienced guy. Jacob Jeffrey is a guy that we got from the baseball field, hadn't played football since 8th grade. He's going to be the starting free safety, and he is constantly around the ball. Sometimes Coach Scobell's got to slow him down. He's so active, but it's a fun group to watch. Hardworking, they get after it in the weight room. It's very intense in the weight room. They get after it in practice. Anytime you have to kind of slow your defense down, that's a good thing, and that's kind of what sometimes as an offensive, still calling the plays. OC, we got to slow down a little bit. Let's make sure we're showing what our opponents are doing and not necessarily what we do.
Before you dive into district play, you got McMain week 2 and you got E.D. White week 3, but I want to ask you about the season opener. Let's set it up. Hahnville against Booker T. Washington, week 1 season opener. What you got? Give us a preview.
Yeah, and I told our kids Monday, one of the things I always have looked at as a coach is when you're looking at your opponent, how many players on your opponent's team could play for your school. And Booker T. Washington has 8, 10, maybe 12 guys talent-wise that could play for us. They are big kids, strong kids, fast kids. They have 2 receivers, number 3 and number 4. One plays running back, quarterback, and receiver. Number 3, they get after it. Very, very physical, very fast. Definitely prospect-type kids. Big up front. Defensively, they pretty much play man and blitz, which is, week 1. That's not necessarily something that you've worked, all spring and summer, and it's not what we do defensively. So that's kind of a new, something new we've looked at the last couple of weeks. But look, it's opening night in Tiger Stadium, so hopefully we get a good turnout. Hopefully we get the rain out of here and maybe a little bit cooler weather for game time.
For people around the state that might not be familiar with, the rivalry with Destrehan and Hahnville, I mean, it would be akin to the offensive coordinator at Auburn getting hired as the head coach at Alabama. So, I mean, it is definitely a rivalry, but obviously such a respected rivalry with your, again, over a decade of success as an assistant coach at Destrehan. And I don't think that was ever more evident than when I last saw you in person mid-November last year during a playoff run when Coach Marcus Scott was recovering from a kidney transplant. I mean, in serious business. And to keep those players engaged, you and Coach Tim Taffy did such a wonderful job. Can you tell us about that experience when you're so concerned with your head coach, and all those players are too, but you're literally in week 2, week 3 of the playoffs and trying to get focused for a job? What was that situation like, and what do you remember most about it?
Yeah, well, and we had known Coach Scott's situation for a while. He had a couple of situations where he almost, they call in the top 3 kidney recipients. So that was a couple false alarms. So we kind of knew it could be coming. He told me earlier in that week that there was a good chance that it could happen this week. We were hoping it wouldn't be on game day, but of course, when that call comes, you have to go. So we were somewhat prepared. It's still kind of shocking, especially, the kids really, I don't think they grasped that he wouldn't be around, for an extended period of time. And again, it wasn't just myself and Coach Taffy. That entire administration, the other assistant coaches, and the seniors on that team. And of course, the season didn't finish as we wanted to, but the entire situation was handled at a very high level because of everybody involved. The kids handled it well. And at the end of the day, look, when you play on a team like Zachary, and there's, maybe 4 or 5 situations during the course of a game where the kids are looking for Coach Scott, as a voice of, hey, let's calm down. Everything's going to be good. And Coach Taffy and I, we were saying it, but at the same time, your head coach isn't there. So I think there was a couple times during the course of those 2 weeks, Belchase and Zachary, where the kids maybe needed to see Coach Scott. And, obviously he wasn't health-wise able to be there, but he zoomed in a couple times and he was communicating with us. So it was a unique situation. But of course, the fact that he got the new kidney, he's as healthy as ever. He and I are great friends. We go way back to 2008 when we coached together at West Jeff. Been through a lot of battles together. So, that week's way down the line. We have a lot more.
I know.
A lot of things between then and now. But, he and I will handle it as good friends.
I just wanted to get your perspective on that. Well put. I certainly appreciate you going down that road. Hey, as fellow volleyball dads, I can't get out of here without a question about Cam at ULM, but also your other 2 children, Riley and Tyler. Bring us up to date on your kids, all athletic individuals, all great kids.
Right. Riley's actually at ULM. She
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Riley's at ULM. She transferred from South.
Hang on. Let me cut that because you blacked out for just a second. We lost your signal. Okay. So I'm just going to re-ask that question. I know Riley's at ULM. I just texted that. I don't know why I said that.
You would have had Cam all excited.
Yeah, right? She goes, did I get offered? That's awesome. All right, here we go. Let me re-ask that question. Sorry about that. Here we go. 3, 2. So, Coach Boyne, I wasn't going to let you get out of here as fellow volleyball dads without a question about Riley at ULM, but really all 3 of your kids are athletic. And, of course, you're talking about Cam and Tyler, used to pitch for the baseball team. Both your daughters played for Destrehan volleyball. Bring us up to date on your children and what's going on with them.
Well, I appreciate you asking, and congrats on the big win for MM Mount Carmel last night.
I appreciate it.
Nice. Riley's at ULM. Playing volleyball. She's in her 3rd year, transferred from Southeast, and she's doing well. A little different community-wise, but she really likes the Monroe area. Tyler, my oldest, is now at UNO, transferred from Southeastern, and he's actually working out, and he's going to try to give baseball another shot.
Love it.
And he's got 1 more year left. And then Cam is starting at LSU as a freshman. She went through the sorority rush thing. That's something my wife and I are not very familiar with, but she seemed to enjoy it, and that'll be an interesting experience. But all doing well.
Love it. And for those that don't know, this is a beach volleyball guy we're talking to right here. Greg Boyne, back in the day, I know you were watching Kristen Nuss in the Olympics thinking about running around with her brother playing beach volleyball back in the day.
Yeah, Pete Nuss and I go way, way back.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, thanks again for being on the show. Really just week 2 of the show. I'm just kind of tiptoeing back into the river parishes in the Bayou. So I appreciate the time. Best of luck this season, especially this week to get off to a great start against Booker T. Washington.
Thank you, Eric. And thanks for having me. And you're always welcome at Hahnville. And as long as I'm here, you can come anytime.
I love it. Well, Careful what you wish for, because I'll be putting a mic on you here real soon and featuring you guys as the Farm Bureau Team of the Week. So thanks very much.
All right, thanks for having me.
You got it. All right. That's Coach Greg Boyne, first-year head coach at Hahnville. While we're speaking of sponsors, let's go ahead and shout out our title sponsor, St. James Parish Hospital, along with South Louisiana Bank, and yes, Farm Bureau Insurance, getting the job done as well with our Team of the Week sponsor. So let's go ahead and take our first time out. But when we return, we go down the bayou, check in with ED White head coach Kyle Lasseigne when this show continues. Did you know St. James Parish Hospital's ER was recently recognized by the American Heart Association for heart attack and stroke care? When minutes count, choose St. James Parish Hospital in Letcher for emergencies. Award-winning quality care close to home.
At South Louisiana Bank, we're great at banking, but we're great at a lot of other stuff too.
Is that a new rod and reel?
Hey, a girl's got a fish.
We care about the community we live in and the people we serve. We're not just like you. We are you.
Are you boiling crawfish?
No, just letting them soak.
We're proud to be here and work for the place and the people we love. South Louisiana Bank. It's in the name.
Well, we've been up the river. You know what time it is. Let's go down the bayou. Specifically, let's head to Thibodaux, and ED White head coach Kyle Lasseigne joins us on the program. Coach, it's so good to see you. Good to catch up with you. Welcome to the program, man. How's everything been for you?
Thank you. It's been going well. Good start to the season. The recent past has been good for us, and interest in the program is just tremendous. A lot of kids want to play. And for a 4A school, really a 3A school, just moved up to 4A.
Yeah.
Having this many kids in the program has been tremendous. Student section, the whole school is excited for the season. And then we're trying to get ready for a really tough schedule this year. But things are looking up.
Man, and you talk about the recent run. Let me just go ahead and dive into it for those that aren't familiar. 2020, state semifinals. 2021, you make it to the state championship game. You finish as the state runner-up. 2022, back to the semifinals. 23, you're in the quarterfinals. Wow. Coach Kyle, man, what a run. What was those last 4 years been like for you and that program? And I know really that whole community has got Cardinal buzz right now.
Yeah, well, Eric, if you would have been at that state championship game, which was at UL, man, it was just packed with our people, and a lot of people that came from all over the place just to support the program. And I think that was really the kickstart for the whole thing. I just saw how many people were interested in the program. Season ticket sales are through the roof, and just people wanting to be in the stadium, seeing what we have. And look, I think maybe that says something to the product that they see. Maybe it says something to maybe how we've prepared and how our kids play and have some respect for their opponents and just present an exciting kind of product that people just want to see. So for me, that's been a proud moment for me. And, I couldn't do it without the staff. Tremendous coaching staff, tremendous administration who really supports everything that we do. So it's just built momentum. That would be the word that I use. The momentum of the program has been tremendous when a lot of programs don't see that anymore. You maybe see kids that are not interested in playing the sport anymore, or kids who are choosing a sport or those kinds of things. And just to have the numbers that we have out for our football program is it's kind of unheard of now. But I can't put my finger on just one thing. I think it's just a collaboration of a lot of good people doing a lot of good things and setting the tone for our program.
It was 2019 when I really met you firsthand in your first year back with your second tenure as the head coach at ED White. 2005 to 2014 was your first Kyle Lasseigne era at E.D. White. And by the way, just like Greg Boyne at Hahnville, you're an alma mater, right? E.D. White, class of 88. And I know that means even more to you. I guess my question here, compare those tenures and what you have been like as a coach. What were you like the first run from 05 to 14, as opposed to this Kyle Lasseigne that took over in 2019 and has had so much success, deep runs into the playoffs?
I think that's really easy. My first tenure, I was worried about absolutely everything. And because of that, I was trying to do everything. I was trying to call plays. I was trying to be a special teams coordinator. I was trying to butt into the defense. And then this go around, I just said, look, I'm going to have to trust coaches and let them grow and let them mature. And that's the difference. The time that I spend at practice is not necessarily on X's and O's. It's about motivating kids, keeping kids involved, and trying to actually deal with some issues with kids that maybe I didn't see a long time ago. I just they're kind of new issues that we know exist, and for our program, the things that we tried to take advantage of are things that were just on the back burner my first tenure. Things like psychology of kids. I mean, you have to address that. Mental health of kids, you have to address that. Nutrition, you have to address that now. And if you can address those things and gain an advantage over your opponent who's maybe not addressing those things, I think that gives you a clear advantage. And that's really where I come in most often. Our X's and O's are what our X's and O's are. But if kids don't want to play for you, those X's and O's don't matter. They don't count. And so that's really the difference between the tenures, is letting my coaches coach and trying to stay out of the way.
Well put. Excellent answer. We just kind of went down memory lane a little bit there, showed you some video from 2019, 2020, both years. There's another video we're just about to see, and we're both going to be quiet here. And we're going to go back to one of my favorite things that I saw in high school football practice. And again, your enthusiasm and your excitement for the game is contagious. And I know those kids pick it up. And what we're about to see, you refer to as the Big Cardinal. So, Justin, go ahead and roll the tape of some intense high school football practice. Let's check it out.
Hands inside! Hands inside! Good job, both of y'all. Feet! Drive your feet! I'll take that.
You see me trying to get out of the way.
I saw that. I saw that.
That's probably the biggest play that's good. But look, this was right when I came back, and you're trying to input your brand onto the football team, and that's really what this was about.
Yeah. All right, Justin. Let's come back and the Big Cardinal. I guess my first question is, do you still do it? And tell us what we couldn't hear you. I know you're making some comments there. It was so intensely loud, but tell me what you were saying right there. And do you still do the Big Cardinal?
We don't do it a whole lot. We, at that time in the program, Eric, it was, I did some things that I'd never done before because I thought I needed to do them to just be different from the first tenure and to try to grasp our team and set the culture for what was going to come. And so that summer before we started practice, I went and visited just about every kid at their house and just kind of said what my expectations were. And this Big Cardinal was an attempt to establish that we were going to be physical.
Yes.
Once you establish that, you don't have to prove it every day.
Right.
That is what we're going to be. And so when things are not like that, we'll pull out Big Cardinal and start doing it. But we really haven't. And it's really, when you have kids that are in the program for that long and they know what's expected of them, you don't really have to do that. That was really something that we wanted off right from jump. we wanted our kids to know how we're going to play. And that is translated. And when you do it and your senior classes uphold that, and they teach the younger kids how we are supposed to act at practice and what we're supposed to do and what's important for us, then it kind of trickles down. And we've seen that. We did something this year that I think is going to add to that. We took our seniors and we do something called Cardinal's Nest. The seniors are divided into groups. There's 10 groups, and our seniors, there's about 2 or 3 per nest. And we had a draft where we got together and we're going to draft the roster onto these 10 groups. And we were drafting on attendance, like who's going to show up, discipline, right, who's going to stay out of trouble, and academics. And it was just a tremendous thing, because you saw kids who were drafting like they were drafting a fantasy football team.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
The first pick was not the best player. The first pick was the most dependable player. And so what we did was we take those nests, and those seniors report to me every single day about effort, attitude, academics, attendance, and all of those things that go in the program. The great thing about it is that those nests are sprinkled with kids from 9th grade through seniors. And so now we're able to make sure that the younger kids understand what the seniors expect of them. And so I'm hoping that translates into an easier transition from senior class to senior class, with the expectation of this is what our culture is going to be. And look, we talk a lot about culture, and a lot of people talk a lot about culture, and they probably talk too much about it, because your culture is not really what you talk about. You can talk forever about what you want your culture to be, but what is it really? What is it day to day? What is it? A stranger walks off the street and comes to your practice. What does it look like? Yeah. And that's really what your culture is about. So we don't talk a lot about it. We do things that try to instill that thought, maybe subconsciously, into kids that this is what we do. And a kid knows that if they weren't willing to participate in a big Cardinal drill, they probably don't need to be with us. So that kind of set the tone for the second tenure.
That's excellent. And great analogy, because I was that stranger off the street and checking out your practice, and I left like, man, did I get some great video, and who knew that I was going to be showing it 5 years later and still enthusiastic about it. So job well done. I love the Cardinal Nest. So let's talk about the schedule. And obviously, before you dive into a very tough district with teams like Lutcher and your rival Vanderbilt, you've got to open up the season with Holy Cross, Jesuit, and Hahnville. I'm glad you're smiling, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing with this schedule? But tell me a little bit about, I guess, the schedule overall, but in particular, we want to preview your season opener at home with Holy Cross.
Well, look, I'm going to be very honest about the schedule. It was tough to schedule games for whatever reason. Some people just don't want to play against a triple option, whatever. It was tough to really schedule games. And I was just looking for games, and I just happened to call Coach Watney to ask him if he knew any week 1 openings. And he said, yes. And so I said, well, I got to be a man here. So I got to say,
careful what you wish for.
Week 1 too. So, but no, man, it's a great opportunity for us to open up with Holy Cross, and, just a really good program, well coached, and then jump into Jesuit, another, Catholic League school with great tradition, and then Hahnville, and then you jump into our 4A district. So, like, I'm at the point now that I think our kids, especially the senior class, has earned the right to kind of play that schedule. And so if people want to play us, great. In the end, I think it'll just get us ready for the playoffs. And that's important. I think last year's schedule, we went undefeated in the regular season. Probably 8 of those games were running time games. And, I think maybe it hurt us in the playoffs a little bit. So now we're not going to be able to – we're going to go into playoffs and say we've seen everything that we possibly can see by really well-coached teams. So that schedule is what it is. We're going to play it. And we're going to see what happens. We're not going to stress over it, though. everybody's been talking about it, thinking about it, and now it's here, and now we just go play.
Excellent. 34-6 was the score of your jamboree in an Edie White win over HL Bourgeois. As we segue into, I want you to paint the picture of some of the players that we should pay attention to this year. I'm really on both sides of the ball. Who are your leaders on the field? But what did you see in that jamboree that you liked? And who are the players that shined? And who are the players that you think will be your leaders this year?
Yeah, we lost some key guys last year. We had Paxton LaFont, who went to Nichols as a receiver. Jake Sternfels, a 3-year starter at quarterback, and Jeffrey Dietrich, who's a 3-year starter at fullback and started in the state championship game. So losing those, really important to replace them. I think the key for us is we're bringing back 4 starters on the offensive line, led by Tommy Bauer, who's going to be a college player. And Zach Guin at center, who is also going to probably play college football. So those 2 guys kind of anchor our offensive line. And then we throw in another junior at right tackle. So very senior-laden offensive line. Carter Douglas is our fullback. He played last year because Jeffrey Dietrich tore his ACL and missed half the season. So he's got some experience. And then I've been really excited about Grant Barbera. Grant is a first-year quarterback, a junior, but very poised, makes really good decisions and doesn't really get rattled. Chase Nakan, again, is a guy who's going to take Paxton's place at receiver. He's a different kind of kid, not a big kid, but pretty explosive kid. So offensively, I think those are the key guys going forward. Defensively, I got to start with Charlie Dietrich. We moved him from DN to middle linebacker. He's just a big, tough, physical kid who can run and is going to lead our defense. Jax Trish is another linebacker who played for us last year at strong safety. And then MJ Sternfels played for us at linebacker as well. So those guys will anchor, but I really think we're going to be good up front. We got some kids up front that we can rotate in the game. Adam Talbot, probably at defensive tackle, was a first-team all-district guy last year. And then we got a lot of guys there that can play. And then a secondary, we were talking about it yesterday. I think this secondary runs just as good as the secondary that played in the state championship game. I think we have the ability to cover. And back there, Nate Thompson is coming back for us at free safety. Luke Zarang's coming back at corner. So those guys, this is probably the most experienced team that I've had since I've been back. So we're expecting those guys to just pick up from where they left off. The depth is not great. So we got to develop kids and we got to stay healthy. But just on paper, we got a chance to be a pretty decent football team.
Man, you've been a pretty decent football team the last 5 years. That's some nice experience, and you've really set the table for us very well. Coach Kyle, man, it's great catching up with you. I wish you nothing but the best, and this is going to be a great season opener on Friday with Holy Cross. Best of luck to you. Thanks for being on the program, Coach.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for everything you do, and thanks for coming down to Bayou and seeing us.
You got it. You take care, and I'm sure we'll see you soon. And I want to see either the cardinal nest or the big cardinal the next time I see you.
Absolutely.
All right, take care. You got it.
All right.
Thank you. Time for another break here on Up the River, Down the Bayou. When we return, we're going to do a blast from the past and check out some Season 1 highlights from the archives. That's after this timeout.
Since 2000, Bayou Granite has grown to be Southeast Louisiana's largest fabricator of stone countertops. From precise laser measurements to state-of-the-art water jet and CNC machines, we can handle your kitchen and bath needs as well as any commercial projects. Let our expert staff design and customize the right material for your home or business. Stop by our new state-of-the-art fabrication facility and showroom today at 9622 East Main Street or call us at 985-637-4911. And don't forget to like us on Facebook.
Local, family-owned H. Worth Elevator Service is the name you should choose when it comes to your commercial or residential elevator needs. We offer elevator installation, repair, and maintenance services. Choose professional elevator contractors in Kenner, licensed and insured. 24/7 emergency services available, warranties available. Backed by over 4 generations of elevator mechanics. Call H. Worth Elevator Service for your elevator needs. So the scrimmages are over. Jamborees are history. We're down to the real deal. Season openers all over the state of Louisiana this Friday. And of course, nothing different here on the river and on the Bayou. So for our blast from the past this week, let's go ahead and dive into the archives and show some highlights through the past decade from season openers, week one highlights from around the area as our blast from the past. A new stadium, a new season, playing their rivals on statewide television. Nah, nothing on the mind of St. James head coach Dwayne Jenkins as the Wildcats hosted West St. John. Okay, first score in the history of the new stadium off the right foot of Anthony Lumar. A 35-yard field goal and West St. John led 3-0. First touchdown in the history of the new stadium, Morel Bartholomew. Touchdown reception from Jermoyne Green. West St. John led 10-0, and Bartholomew was just getting warmed up. On the next score, again, it was Green hooking up with his tall, lanky receiver number 3 for his second touchdown. Then later, spreading the wealth, this time connecting on the touchdown pass to Lamore Baudouin from 6 yards out, and the Rams are in control. Now, West St. John has a pair of quarterbacks who both can play. The lefty Jawan Baudouin, nice touch on the far sidelines, and guess who? Yep, Bartholomew's third touchdown reception of the game, this one from 45 yards out. So West St. John led 29-0 at the half, but no one could see what was coming up next. Well, almost no one.
Nose up. 30-29. Nose up. 30-29. 30-29. You worked way too hard for way too long to lay down like you did in the first half. Now all I got left to do is just challenge you. I want to see who I can count on for the next 9 weeks in the regular season. And for 5 weeks after that, we talked about it. Our goals aren't changing. The standard of play is not changing.
It did not take long for St. James to crack the scoreboard in the second half. More history. First Wildcat to score a touchdown in the new stadium, Houston Wiggins. He slices his way through the West St. John defense and takes the Lowell Narcisse pass 63 yards for the touchdown. And after the two-point conversion, it was 29-8. From there, the momentum went from snowball to avalanche quickly. The Wildcats D, even with Jonte Jones on the sidelines with his arm in a sling, would shut down the Rams with run-stuffing plays like this from Rayjah James and Shandon Hickerson. The St. James offense also showing new life. Narcisse was flat out unstoppable in the third quarter. The dual-threat sophomore quarterback racing 34 yards for the touchdown and would again add the two-point conversion, and it's 29-16. St. James fans starting to feel what was going down. Narcisse threw for 317 yards on the night and 3 touchdowns, including this 37-yard strike to Dantes Costley. And with 1:22 left in the third quarter, the Wildcats were within a touchdown, trailing 29-22. Ensuing kickoff. Fumble on the play, and now everything's going the Wildcats' way. Sophomore Marquise Blaine comes up from the bottom of the pile with the football. Very next play, it's Narcisse. Back up top to Kirtland Johnson from 20 yards out. St. James now a 2-point conversion away from taking the lead, and the packed house at the brand new St. James Stadium losing its collective mind. So here we go. It's going to be Narcisse himself, powering in for his third 2-point conversion of the night, and in a game where you had to be here to believe it, the scoreboard did not lie. 30 unanswered points had given the Wildcats a 30-29 lead with still 1 minute and 5 seconds left in the third quarter. West St. John would eventually slow down that St. James momentum and again went back to Lamar for a field goal attempt for the lead from 28 yards out, off the crossbar and through. It was straight up that kind of a night. More Rams special teams. St. James punting. High snap. The punt is blocked, and West St. John is going to start this drive inside the St. James 10. It took all of one play for the Rams to score again. Bradley Bourne on the far side from 8 yards out, and that would close out the scoring. West St. John weathers an amazing comeback, spoils the debut of St. James' new stadium, and wins the Railroad Classic trophy along the way. 39-30, the final.
These cardiac kids are going to give me a heart attack. This is great. St. James is a top-notch program. We knew going in that they were going to give us everything they had in the second half and that third quarter. Just to be able to sustain and come back and be able to win in a hostile environment, that's just a testament to the toughness of the kids.
We made history. We were the first team. This was the first game in the new stadium, and we won. This is my last time holding the trophy.
Just tough. This community looked forward to this for a long time, and that was our chance and our opportunity. We didn't show up early on, and we had our opportunities in the second half, and we didn't take advantage of them. So we just got to keep working, get a little better. We got 9 more weeks of the season to improve on.
On one very historic night in Vacherie, I'm Eric Richey. Always fun going through the old hard drives around the offices here in Destrehan to find some really good highlights and season 1, season openers, good stuff as well to wrap up this edition of Up the River, Down the Bayou. Want to thank our guest one more time, Hahnville head coach Greg Boyne and ED White head coach Kyle Lasseigne. For our producer director Justin Thomas, I'm Eric Richey saying so long, everyone. Thanks for watching.